Hello, this is Knox Street Studios Tech Bridge, where we increase our technical know-how and productivity. Today, what we're going to do is a lot, quite frankly. The focus is going to be on Python comments, Python keywords, and Python strings. And there'll be a part two to the Python strings because there's quite a few things on the strings that I would like to cover. One other comment that I'll make, and then we'll get right started to it. So we all learn differently, and the types of things that I am talking about is the evolution, at least, of how I think about it and how I learn. And so certainly there are, and it goes back to last week's comments, Python documentation. There are different places for you to get information. And so what you want to do is you want to pay attention to what clicks for you, what gets you to learn, and then keep using those types of services. Is it the audio? Is it the visual? Is it the actual examples? Is it the reading, the theory behind it, and then time to apply it? And so figuring that thing out is really important to getting past your stick points as it relates to the problems that you're having with your code. So thank you for tuning in. Let's jump right into it. All right. And so what that is a comment. When the Python interpreter sees that pound sign, it basically ignores it. But what it really is for, the comments are to remind you as the programmer what you were doing and why you were doing it. It could be notes. It could be to kind of guide you into fixing stuff. There are times when we write these programs and we don't come back to them for a year, and you're like, dude, what was I thinking about, right? All right, so I'm not going to belabor that point, but it is important that you include comments. What I do when I write programs, and in fact, let me finish this. So hit File, Save As, and then call this Richard Python program 1. And then the extension is py. That's the Python extension, right? So when you think exe is executable files, bin is bin files, dl or kind of library deals, PDF, those types of things. So for Python, it's py. All right, as soon as I save this, what you'll see is that, so let's say, so the next thing we're going to do is talk about keywords. So normally at the top, we normally have something called an import statement, and I just typed it in, and what you see is it turned purple. So that's a Python keyword. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go over to Google, search up what are some other keywords, but for is a keyword. So let's say tall. I type in tall, it doesn't turn a specific color, right? For is a keyword. So, and so why is this important? In between your variables that you create and keywords, when you start to see other code that you didn't write, it's important for you to be able to pull it apart and understand what's happening. And so those keywords can be really, really critical. All right, let's take a quick look at those. All right, so since I use Google so much, I figure I'll change and use another search engine. So today I'll use Yahoo. And so think about what the keywords you're looking for. I know we're looking for Python, and I know we're looking for keywords, right? All right, so I'm going to type that in, and let's see what I get. All right, so there's a couple of listings. So there's Python keywords, W3 School. There's also list of keywords in Python programming. All right. And so again, what I would do is if there, remember what I said, if there are spaces that do well with your, helps you, it clicks, then, you may want to bookmark those things. All right. So here is a list, and let's make this just a little bit bigger, right? These are key reserved words in the Python language. So remember, I typed in import, pass, in, raise, finally, continue, def, i.e. for definition, del for delete, elif, if, yield, while. And so here's an example right here. Import keyword, print keyword dot list. All right. So let's do that. Let's do this little, piece inside the terminal. Okay. All right. So let's do that. So let's go to resume share and do new share and do this. All right. So let's see if I can remember all the text. Probably not, but that's okay. I can always go back. So first start Python 3. All right. So now it said import, which is a keyword, import keyword, and then print keyword, is it comma, KW list? All right, let's try that again. All right, and so let's do dot K list. There it is. All right, and so what it's doing is, so there's a couple things that happened. So what we just did is we just pulled from Python the keyword list, and then we printed out that list, right? And so you see those words, non, false, true, as, the words we just saw on the other thing. All right. And the first time when I typed it, I did a comma. When I did print, I did a comma as opposed to a dot. And I should have remembered that. Oh, well, I didn't. All right, so what we've done is we've covered the Python comments. We did it quickly. We did really quickly. We did the Python keywords, and then we're going to start to talk about the Python string. All right, Python strings are characters. Okay, so we are at the terminal, and so let's say string. Let's call it first string equals hello. Okay, so now if you wanted to print that, you do first string. Okay, it gives you that. All right, so so remember when we covered numbers, we can multiply strings. So let's say we say print first string times 3. And what you see is it printed hello, 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 right? So we also can concatenate. So let's call this second string equals team. So now what we're going to do is we're going to concatenate the two strings. We're going to put them together. And this time what we'll do is we'll take those two strings and put them in a third string. Third string equals first string plus second string, print third string. And if you notice, it says hello team. There's no space because I didn't put any space in there. All right, so we've gone through concatenate. We've gone through multiplying. Let's type in type. And what we're doing now is we're calling a method that figures out if what we're calling what it is, right? Is it a number or is it a string, right? And if you notice, it popped up and said class string. And so let's make number equals 100. And so let's type number, and it's going to tell you that it's an integer, class integer. Okay, so sometimes you got to figure out, well, what is this that is being kicked out? Is it a string? Is it an integer? Is it a list? Is it a boolean? Okay. All right, so the last thing we want to do is we want to be able to look in a string and find out if a character is in that string. All right. So let's see, we've created 3 strings. First string is hello, second string is team, and the third string is the concatenation of those 2. So let's look inside the third string and see if the letter P is in the string. So, and I didn't explain this, I didn't say this, but I should. So strings, so numbers, you don't have to put quotes around them, but strings you do, right? So P in third string, and it gave me an answer, which is false. So let's say, is L in third string? I typed something wrong. I didn't spell third string correctly. All right, so let's fix that. Let's see if I can spell it correctly. Third string, and it says true. So that brings up errors, and errors are good because errors start to tell you what's happening. So when it said whatever that non-spelled variable is, it's not defined, it's looking in the memory of the computer and it's not finding that variable created. When I shut down this version of the terminal, all these variables that I've created will be destroyed. All right, so briefly what I've covered today was Python comments. You can use it with the pound, like so, right? I've covered some of the Python keywords, and that's to help you decide what's happening when you start to read other people's code. And certainly I suggest that you spend some time. One of the action items is to go online and type in Python and code examples, and you'll see quite a bit. You can go to GitHub. There's a whole lot of code out there. And when you start to be able to read it, the documentation helps you to read it, but also to be able to read it, you need to look at some other people's code. And one of the ways that at least I'm starting to understand it is when you know what the key words are, you kind of get a feel for where things are. All right. The last thing we did is we started the process of looking at strings. We will continue that process by looking at slices, indexes, and things of that nature, probably in our next one. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you next week.